So I've made several videos about this in the past, and I think it is an issue. I mean, at least to me it is. Most people probably just go on about and don't really care too much. The physical SIM card, the little piece of plastic and metal that you put in your phone that you get from your cell phone service provider that allows you to have service with said service provider. It stands for Subscriber Information Module. It's essentially your account information, not your password and stuff, but everything that's needed in order to allow your cell phone to talk to that company's cell towers and so forth. For a long time, we've been using it for probably close to 2 decades, if not more. And because it's a little piece of plastic and metal that you can freely move around, it's easy to take it out of one phone and put it in another. Every time you would buy a new phone, you could, even though they might charge an activation fee. Oh my gosh, that's another issue I don't want to talk about. But you should, theoretically, and actually be able to just say, okay, I have my old phone, I take my SIM card out of my old phone, I have my new phone, and simply put my SIM card in my new phone. And that's it. Phone works as long as the phone is compatible with the network and unlocked or locked, all of that stuff. There should be no issues. Now, years ago, and if I take some time to do some research, I'll see exactly when the eSIM, so the embedded SIM, was created. Now, at some point, the eSIM was created. And essentially, instead of having to use that little piece of plastic and metal, everything from your carrier can now be stored locally on your actual device. And for a while, phones would have an eSIM option and a physical SIM card option. Most people still use the physical SIM because that's what we're used to. And yeah, it's a really easy thing. You just, like I said, you take it out of your one phone, put it in the other phone. But as time went on, I'm sure there were users who started using the eSIM. I was one of them. I have used the eSIM in several devices of my own as well as my mother's. And there are benefits to it. And that's not the point of this video. There are benefits to the physical SIM card and there are benefits to the eSIM, and there are drawbacks to both of them as well. Now, for the iPhone 14, in the United States, Apple decided to remove the physical SIM card slot and just make it so that phone was eSIM only. Back then, I had an issue because I feel like that's making things a little too restrictive. Again, there's nothing wrong with an eSIM, but when you remove the physical SIM card, that's when it's problematic. That's when companies, whether it's the cell phone service provider or the device manufacturer, I feel like that's the point where they're trying to lock you in. So fast forward to the iPhone 15, same thing, only in the United States for the iPhone, only an eSIM option. Now, in the recent past, so after these phones were created and sold, and most people probably don't care, even though when the iPhone 14 was released, there were a ton of people online talking about the fact that it was difficult to transfer their service from a previous phone, whether it was iPhone or Android, to a phone now that only has eSIM. A lot of options, a lot of issues. However, it looks like things have gotten somewhat better, and here we are today. So, the improvements that have happened over the years are Apple making it so that you can more easily transfer your eSIM from your old phone to your new phone. It is really just a simple process of you set up the phone, do whatever, and you can do this process during setup, but you can fully set up the phone, and then you go into the settings, click Add eSIM, and you have two options, either scan the QR code or transfer from your old phone, and you just put the phones next to each other if you're transferring from the old phone, and the process should be seamless. Now, kudos to Apple for creating such a tool. Google has made something similar, I think, for Android. I haven't really attempted to use it, so I don't know and I can't vouch for it. But before I continue with what the real issue that I'm having is, I'd like to say that it's a team effort, okay? So yes, the phones have to support the physical SIM card and, going back in history. Then of course the carriers have the SIM cards. Everything needs to work with them and everything works in tandem. Great. And then over the years, the size of the SIM card has shrunk. Cool. The phones were made to accept those SIM cards. Cool. Now, when it comes to the eSIM, it's similar. And I think an additional step. So you have the phones that need to support eSIMs. So Apple, Google, Samsung, whoever, they have to make devices that are capable of supporting an eSIM. And then the cell phone service providers need to actually support eSIM as well. So again, things need to work in tandem. And then when it came to transferring an eSIM to another device, the companies need to work together to make sure that it actually works. Because again, going back to just the physical SIM card, you pop it out of one phone and then you place it in the other one. The cell phone service provider doesn't need to get involved. Apple or Google, whoever the device manufacturer is, does need to get involved. That's strictly something the user can do, and there are no problems. But with the eSIM, transferring it, software has to be created. Firmware has to be created to make sure that that process works as seamlessly as possible. And as I said, Apple created something to transfer stuff from one iPhone to a new iPhone. And knowing that, I said, hey, the process for me to transfer an eSIM from one device to another device should be simple. Apple did all the legwork because in my mind, if the carrier supports eSIM, and then Apple has now created a tool to transfer eSIMs from iPhone to iPhone, as long as the new iPhone supports eSIM, there shouldn't be an issue. But obviously, I'm making this video because that's simply not the case. So I recently subscribed to Tello Mobile. I needed a quick number for $6. The plan wasn't anything special, but I just needed to have a phone number for a quick month. And yeah, it was extremely convenient to be able to activate the eSIM online. And again, as I said before, there are plenty of benefits to the eSIM. I did not have to wait for 2 or 3 days to receive a physical SIM card in the mail. It was nice to be able to simply activate it online without having to wait at all. So great. But I needed to then transfer the eSIM from the current phone to a new phone. And when I attempted to do that, the process starts out pretty seamlessly. And then when I start looking at the new phone, it says your SIM is not supported. The SIM on your old iPhone does not support eSIM transfer. Contact carrier for assistance. And it's like, I didn't know that was a thing. Again, if Apple laid all the groundwork to just transfer your information from one phone to the other, why does the carrier now need to get re-involved to transfer it from one phone to the other? The carrier supports eSIM. The iPhone supports eSIM. Both of them do. They both are iPhone 15s. Apple creates a tool to transfer the eSIM. Why doesn't it just work? Why does the carrier need to support eSIM transfer? And I'm sure, there's some security, whatever, but all of that, in my opinion, should have been built in. That, okay, I have the phone, I have the number, I have the account login information. Give me some more breadcrumbs, even if I don't believe they should exist, but something where now I don't need to call or chat with somebody from the carrier. With the physical SIM card, all I had to do was take it out of one phone and place it in the other. This is a step backwards. The eSIM needs to exist. I'm happy that it does. But until the process and the experience is as seamless as it is with the physical SIM card, you need to keep both around. So this was new to me, and I'm confident there are a lot of people who have had this issue. Now, I know a lot of people will buy their phones through the carrier, which is the worst thing I feel you can do. But in this country, that's how things operate because big business. But this is toxic. That's the best way I can describe it. It's toxic. You took something away that worked fine, and then you built a tool, but the tool isn't completely supported because not only does Apple need to get on board with it, every single carrier now needs to support eSIM transfer. And that's just more work. And it's frustrating. So yeah, my SIM is still active on the old phone and I may contact Tello or At some point, it might just be easier, like at the end of the month, since it was just a single month, if I really need a number for the following month, to just activate a new line of service because it'd be the same price anyway. But I don't think I can get over this quite at this moment because, again, as I said, the eSIM is a good thing. The physical SIM is a good thing. And they need to work in tandem right now until the eSIM transfer process is as seamless as the physical SIM transfer process. So I think I'm done. And I'm going to go on about my day and do some other stuff. But yeah, your SIM is not supported. And that's not true, because if I'm using two iPhone 15s, the SIM should be supported because it's supported on one, but the transfer, the SIM in your old iPhone does not support eSIM transfer. Like, I didn't know that was a thing. And now I do. So, physical SIM cards. So, and just, to be clear, the iPhone 15 that I purchased has a physical SIM slot and an eSIM. I've used the physical SIM slot and I activated the eSIM for this particular instance of work that I had. And yeah, I just needed to transfer it to another phone real quick. But again, Tello Mobile supports eSIM, but doesn't support eSIM transfer. And however many companies there are in the country that support eSIM, do they all support eSIM transfer? No idea. So, and that's, I don't know if that's something I could even, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to take the time to research that. Like, that's because it's something I shouldn't have to do. So again, I'm done. Physical SIM cards and eSIM need to work in tandem, not just one or the other here in 2024.